Howdy, folks. Sorry to keep waiting there. Complicated business. Actually, just system issues. Had to restart the system, start over. We're all good to go now, I think. Let me know if you're out there in the chat. Dalton, I got your chat before. We are surviving in the dog days of summer. Like to kill me today. Like to kill me. Working out in the 90 degree, 95, I think, degree heat this morning. And normally there's humidity. Luckily, we didn't have that. But the downside of no humidity when it's that hot is your sweat just evaporates immediately, and your shirt gets a little bit wet, but the sweat evaporates directly off your skin. Yet, welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. Please like the show, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We got Tim joining us here in the Skype. We're at 10 minutes after 12 on this July the 12th, 2023. We got Joe in the chat reminding me I almost drank power steering fluid today. So that was fun. Or automatic transmission fluid, actually. I had a bottle of automatic transmission fluid that I had almost emptied, and my plan was I was going to flush my old power steering fluid or automatic transmission fluid in my power steering pump into this bottle, and I didn't quite empty it out. So I said, okay, well, I'll top off my reservoir with that, and I will use this beer bottle in order to put the old power steering fluid in. So I killed the beer that I was drinking and let the power steering fluid or the automatic transmission fluid drain into the beer bottle. Set it down, and I was fixing to start the next session of the repair and picked up that bottle of beer that was actually power steering fluid or automatic transmission fluid and almost had a big swig of it. I got it in my mouth. I spit it out before I drank any, but it's pretty gross. Pretty gross. Don't recommend it. Not as good as the taco bowls at Trump Tower. Probably the worst taste. Dalton says humidity also limits the body's ability to release heat. Yeah, so it would have been definitely worse in the humidity, but it's one of those things where you're like, oh gosh, I can't sweat. I can't sweat except on my shirt. So dumped water on myself multiple times today and got through it. But this old boy, I think I've reached my limit on tan. I don't think I'm going to get any more tan. That's about as tan as I get. So I'm not really burnt, but man, I can feel the heat on my body. I'm definitely warm. How y'all doing out there today, Dalton? How's it up in PA? I know some parts of PA can be quite balmy, and in some cases even worse than the temperature down here, especially towards the east end. Now, if you've ever been up at like Williamsburg or Washington D.C. or those swampy areas up there in Northern Virginia, you want to talk about a nightmare. If it's like 95 degrees there, jeez. Like to kill you. So what's up with you, Tim?
Nothing, just computer work. And teaching dogs how to pee outside instead of inside. I've got the pee down. Now if I can lose the dog biscuits, we'll be good.
Let's see. Say that again. Make sure I've got your audio up right.
I said I traded my dogs in for 2 giant pet coconut crabs, and one's name's Snippy and the other one's name is Kevin.
Kevin. Those poor old Labradoodles, man. You were getting a good connection with them and then just kicked them out for a couple of crabs.
Well, if you saw the interesting paintings on the back of these coconut crabs, you'd have traded in some doodles for them too. It's more about the artwork. And I'm going to eat them.
Yeah.
Can't eat doodles. I can eat crab.
Anything out there in the internet caught your attention this week, Tim?
I don't really even know. Like I've been watching. I've been watching mostly just police videos still. So no, not really. Yeah, I mean, the internet's just the same thing as it's always been. I have this bad habit of comparing things overly, and I feel like the internet's just repeating the internet. Like the internet before around 2014 was pretty good, and it was very saturated, but it was almost a little boring in my opinion. And what shook it up was all the politics and stuff. But I feel like that's where people are getting back to. People are starting to not necessarily ignore the politics, but they're going back to making fun of each other again. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that
Yeah.
makes sense or not, but it's like there for a good minute, sort of like after 9/11, how all the political parties got along. There for a minute, everyone had seemed to stop really going after each other and started turning on like at least canceling a corporation or something. But now it seems like everybody's bored and they've decided to come after each other again. That's my only observation. I'm not having any sort of well, I'm having a cheeky argument with a preacher online, but that's nothing to write home about.
Oh, come on, tell us about it.
There was a guy I'm friends with on Facebook, and he made a podcast. It's a Christian podcast, and he put up openly one day looking for some audio help with it. Like, how could he make the audio sound better? It's the only thing that even attracted my attention. And I just commented, in his direct messenger, explaining, some EQing tricks that you could do to make your vocals sound better and whatever. And then he started sharing the actual podcast itself on Facebook and whatever. And I know how it is to make something and really just need a couple of people to give you one of these to make you feel good, So I started, I was liking these things, and I don't really even care about a lot of the stuff he does, but it's like, it's still somebody doing something that they care about. Like if one of my friends was super into Islam and they were doing something that wasn't destructive, like most of his stuff was just like a study in truth. Let's talk about the flood or something,
Yeah.
That's fine. I'll give you a thumbs up, maybe give you a bullcrap comment, right?
Encourage him to do it.
You're late when he started dipping into some weird stuff that just seems so, what's the word I'm looking for? Not important to 2023, and he's really hung up on it. That's the only reason I got involved. Like, one of the things he was bringing up was whether or not women should be allowed to do any sort of teaching in churches. One of them was whether or not alcohol was a sin. But I just keep bringing up that he's kind of being a literal Pharisee, like the definition of the Pharisee were people that were so hung up on the actual law and the optics of how they looked in public that they actually became very unrighteous people. And it's like, if you just go on Facebook every day and just start barking at people's sins that by today's standards really aren't even that big of a deal, it just really seems very Pharisaical, because it seems like he's doing that instead of say this is how you do, this is what you should be doing. Seems more about like he's doing it as a purity standard. Like, look how clean and absolute 100% pure gospel my church is. And it's like, yeah, but you're kind of coming off like a dick. So I don't, kind of defeating the whole "what would Jesus do?" Well, very few times was he a dick.
That's right. I can't think of a time. I can't think of a time that he was a dick. As a matter of fact, you could say
flipping the tables open.
You could maybe say that was a dick, but I don't know. I'll take his point.
But it's justified at that point. But like if you're just doing it on the daily, like that's not loving,
Yeah. Well, I saw this.
I didn't even want to do it I didn't even want to do it to be a troll. Like I wasn't even trying to be mean at first. I was just trying to give him a little friction. But like even at the first little sign of friction, because I was just like, I'll summarize. This is literally how it went. Hey, this guy, alcohol is bad. There's no excuse for it. Me, what about dysentery? Him, you're not a Christian, are you? Okay, that's a jump, isn't it? So anyway, I was like, all right, well, whatever. I'm not going to answer that question just to keep you suspended because I don't want to give you fodder. And then the next one rolled around, and I think it was whether or not women should speak in church. Maybe it was teach. I don't remember. It was teach. Because he was excusing singing as long as they weren't leading worship, because women can't lead any position unless they're children. Sunday school's apparently okay. He was saying that, and I brought up something else, and he wanted me to find whether or not truth was relative or absolute, and the absurdity of that kind of. I was like, I know what you mean, but I'm not going to answer your question because that's stupid.
And that's a long philosophical question that's, much more than we're really getting into here.
He wants me to say absolute because the Bible.
Yeah.
Then he's going to defer to the Bible and try to use the Bible as like a grounding.
Or if you say relative, then he's going to say, "Oh well, this." Yeah. He's either way. He's just looking at you with a double barrel. Both barrels are loaded with bullshit, ready to shoot you down.
If you say relative, then I can say no matter what we argue about, it doesn't matter because you have no standard for truth. And if I say absolute, he feels like he can use anything he says in the Bible against me.
Yeah.
But I already came back to him a couple of verses ago when he said, pray without ceasing. It's like, that's pretty damn literal. If you stop, how is that any different than any other sin? Because it literally says pray without ceasing. But he has to go all the way back to the Greek tablets to prove that it literally means drinking fermented grape juice. It's like, dude, you're really having to stretch for these things. But my psychological evaluation is he probably has a history of women telling him what to do, probably a history of alcohol. Those two things are a little bit hang up, and he wants to make sure everybody else is. That's just how psychology works. Like, whatever you're most vocal about, that's your weakness, you know. No, I'm not even mad at the guy. I hope he's not too salty about it. It's just like he needs to learn some internet etiquette because he is making the church look bad.
Well, as you and Dustin and I were talking, alcohol is actually key to the survival of the human species. We probably wouldn't have made it without the advent of beer and wine, so that the water was actually safe to drink because of the high amount of impurities and parasites and toxicity, all different kinds of yucky stuff in the water. So they would either brew it out, boil it out, or distill it out, and have something to be able to, or ferment it out, have some way to be able to drink the water. And Jesus definitely drank wine, and all his disciples did. There's a big difference between drunkenness and drinking. So anyway,
it's just a preposterous argument, in my opinion.
I agree.
Like, it's just, you know. But anyway, no salt there. I wanted it to be fun. I think maybe he got a little bit heated about it because now he's refusing to answer my questions anymore.
All right. That happens on the internet. Well, did you see
you can look at it. It's actually really nice. I wasn't a dick or anything.
Well, there was we were talking last week about the proposed contest in the Coliseum. I think we talked about it anyway, between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, and that apparently the Coliseum had reached out in some form or fashion, asked them if they'd be interested in doing it, and Elon Musk said, "Hey, it's looking like this fight may happen at the Coliseum." And then the Coliseum, the Italian government said, we've not, said anything up like this. But you got to figure if they were thinking about doing it, they'd probably reach out to him and say, hey, you guys really going to do this? You want to use the Coliseum? Before they actually, there'd be a lot of work to do to get it ready if they were going to do that. So, but at this point, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Who knows? But leading up to this, or in the wake of this, I saw there was this comment from this social rate on Twitter. It says, fuck you, Anon, and shows this meme here. Oh, you're posting as an alt? Why don't you use your real photo and name so I can call your employer and get you fired for disagreeing with my retarded worldviews? And to this, Elon Musk responds, this platform will protect Anons for this reason particularly. Talking about the platform Twitter. And like I said, this is all in the wake of the fight at the Coliseum, or the challenge, the fight between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg that's supposedly happening, and this alleged offer at the Coliseum. Well, then following up this, Wendy's says, "Hey Zuck, you should go to space," just to make him really mad. Now y'all know the Wendy's Twitter. I'm sure y'all seen the famous Wendy's tweets over the years where whoever runs it just don't give a shit, and it's hilarious, and Wendy's keeps letting them do it. But then Elon follows up, huh?
It's probably strategic.
Oh, I think so, yeah. Elon Musk follows up. Oh yeah, I think they definitely like what's going on. It draws attention to him. Musk follows that up with, Zuck is a cuck. And I thought this was probably the parody account for Elon Musk, but no, it's actually Elon Musk. And then he says, I propose a literal dick measuring contest. And so that's all I've heard about that. So I don't know if the fight's still happening or not, but that's the last I heard about it. That was a couple of days ago. And
Elon Musk followed me on Instagram the other day.
He did what?
Elon Musk followed me on Instagram the other day.
Did he really?
100% not a fake account. Yes, 100%
not a fake account.
Not a fake account.
Yeah, 100%.
Totally.
Well, did you see the lady on the plane who said that the flight attendant wasn't real? Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
Was it the flight attendant? I thought it was another passenger that she was accusing.
No, she says that this guy is not real. I think that he winked sideways at her or something like that is what she said. And I think it was a flight attendant. Let's look at this real quick. There's going
Yeah,
to
I've
be
seen
more.
the video, but I haven't seen the person that is allegedly fake.
I haven't seen that
That's what
person
I-
either. I haven't seen that person either, but actually, I may have seen it. So we'll watch this video real
Well, see,
quick
there's
from.
one video. There's one video that I found that I think was made by a TikToker or something like that, where they had spliced two videos together, and you can see it's like points to a guy that's in like a green hoodie, but if you look at the angles when they cut in, it's not the same plane. So it's like that's not the person that was supposedly not a real person, is what I mean. If anybody's seen that video,
Right. Well, hang on. If I can find the video of the woman on the plane, I'll show you that, and then we'll see if we can find the real person. Man, this site here is going slow. It's the top Google results site when I search for man is not real. So here we go. Oops. Let's back it up a little here. Get Tim out of the way so y'all can see it.
move me.
And we'll capture the screen. And here we go.
Say whatever you want. I'm telling you, I'm getting the off, and there's a reason why I'm getting the off, and everyone can either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two but I am telling you right now, that mother back there is not real. And you can sit on
Watch
the
everybody
plane
look.
and you can die with them or not. I'm not going to.
Bye.
So she got off the plane there, and you know, this just in, we do have a photo of the man she was talking about. So you heard it here first on the Iron Mountain Hour. Actually, this is from Yankee Pollock. This is who the lady on the plane saw. Android. He's definitely an Ash style android from Alien.
What would Elon be then?
Not a bishop, but an Ash.
He's like a best version.
He would be a what?
If Zuckerberg is an android, then what kind of an android is Elon? Because he's obviously another one too. That'd be a next level version of BattleBots.
He seems more like a David from Prometheus than Mark Zuckerberg seems like an Ash from Alien. Elon's not quite a bishop. Maybe he is. Maybe he's a bishop from Alien 2. Aliens. What's up, Spield? Glad to have you in the chat. Y'all getting these crazy 97-degree temperatures out there in Northern California? Of course, it is the dog days of summer, as Dalton said, so not that crazy to see that. But, still, it'll wear you out to burn you up. But yeah, I don't really have much to tell you tonight other than I do want to, Tim and I were talking a little bit over the weekend. We were looking at some ideas for the show, and we're going to be continuing the format. 106 tomorrow is 99 today, Spiel. Damn. Yeah, so I think we got about 95 today while I was working. That was hot enough for me. Hot enough for me. But, yeah, so Tim and I were talking, and we're looking at maybe a new format for part of the show. We're still going to continue the Sunday and Wednesday live shows, although we may move the Wednesday one to Thursday. I'm not sure about that yet. But we do want to start adding a produced, recorded, not live show I'd like to do one once a week that may be a little more than I'm able, so maybe something more like once a month or once every 2 weeks or something like that, because I do want to give you some information. Because why are we doing the channel? Why do we have the show? Ultimately, it's because a lot of the folks in our area, even those who are conspiracy theorists, quote unquote, or really just people who are looking out for all the different parts of the global technocracy that have their claws out for you, and trying to avoid that wherever we may and sidestep it however we can, and use our political power however we can to push it out of the way as well. And when we see these things that are going on nationwide that we're telling each other about, you might be hearing about it on Alex Jones or Tim Pool or Tucker Carlson or Fox News or somewhere like that, all these stories that you're hearing, and you're saying, or when it comes to like things like the World Economic Forum and the what people call the woke or the green agenda, which is basically just to say government overreach, government collusion with large corporations in order to have more control over you, to violate your natural rights by using corporations rather than the government to do the actual right violating, like buying your data, your private data by the government, or a whole myriad of other different ways they violate it. So anyway, the point I'm getting to is the reason I started this show is because all these things are happening to you on a local level right at home. If you live in our area, we've got the license plate reading cameras that's pretty good, huh? That actually track and trace every vehicle that comes through towns, keeps a record of each vehicle, not only their license plate, but what kind of vehicle it is, what color it is, if it has any dents. They say not who's in it, but I can't really believe it if it keeps up with dents and things like that. And this actually feeds into a larger database. Flock Security is nationwide. They have over 2,000 cities tied in 42 states, including in Kingsport, Tennessee, where they're going to be gathering all this data and building a giant database of where you are going, where you're visiting, what you're doing. And we originally started with the smart poles in Johnson City, the TVA, a corporation owned by the private government, buying your data from the city of Johnson City by installing these smart poles for them in the name of fighting crime, making traffic go more smoothly, all these things. The city of Elizabeth and putting smart meters on your home electrical meters, digital, where they can read from away from the home, and they can also turn your electricity off away from the home. So all kinds of different things going in that we would call global technocratic nightmare, and they're happening right here, and a lot of us don't even realize it, don't even know it, because the much as the news reports it is. I'll give you an example. When I went down to the school board, they put me in the news, but they showed my picture and they said John Brooks addresses the school board about masks. There was a thing in the news when I went down and addressed the school board. All that it said was John Brooks addresses the school board about masks. They didn't say what any of my arguments was, what my position was. There was also, they reported just the other day about a zoning issue. I think it was in Unicoi County. I can't remember 100%. But it was like, we're going to be upending your local community, and it was a bridge. That's what it was. They were looking at replacing the bridge at Wilbur Lake. So they reported that they had a meeting with the TVA about replacing the bridge on WJHL, and then they showed the spokesperson from the TVA talking, and then they said the community was invited to give comments, and they didn't show what a single person who lived up there had to say about it. Which leads me to believe that everybody who lived up there probably said, we don't want the bridge being replaced, but I don't know. Do it.
Where's it again?
It's on Wilbur Lake. On the way up, you cross the Wilbur Reservoir where the beaver dams are and stuff before you get to Horseshoe Campground, and then you go up to the top of the dam. The bridge that you go across there. It's a green bridge. It's pretty narrow.
Is it like an old steel bridge style one?
It's not. It doesn't have the trestles over top of it, but it is an old. I mean, you've gone up to the top of the dam, right? You've gone up to the top of the dam where the visitor center and stuff is?
Probably not in... it's been since probably right after high school, so
okay.
A very, very long time.
Well, the bridge on the way up there... But yeah, just for an example, that's the way they report on these things. They say, well, the community's been invited to have input, and then they don't share what any of the community members had to say. They don't share. All they shared was the TVA spokesperson. They give a very limited amount of ability for people to comment on it, especially when there are city council meetings and they have things like, for example, the smart poles in Johnson City. There was never a council meeting saying, well, we would like to hear from the public about whether or not you'd like to have these smart poles. They said, well, we're going to put on the agenda next month to have public safety. And then at public safety, they're like, oh, by the way, we got these smart poles. You want to put these in? Yes, let's put them in. And then the news says, oh, the city council decided to do this. So there was never an opportunity, unless you went to those city council meetings. And the same thing happened with the license plate reading software, the license plate reading cameras here in Elizabethton. There was never a, oh, well, this is going to be voted on tonight. You'd like to show up, if you'd like to show up and voice your opinion. It was like, oh, the next day, well, the city council voted tonight. Actually, they didn't even say it first, the city council voted. They said the sheriff's department or the police department decided to put these things in. And then later they put an article about giving the minutes of the city council meeting where the city council actually did vote on it. So I was mistaken when I first reported on that. I said that the police department had done it on their own, but no, there was a city council resolution that passed that decided they were going to use these funds to install these cameras. But again, there was no at least no reported in the local media that a period of accepting, statements from the public, whatever it may be. Hey, we got Alvin in the chat. What's up, brother? But that's the main reason I'm started this channel is I was trying to make people realize or get the folks that are like us, like-minded. A lot of us, we think alike here. And there's a lot of us in this area in Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, Western North Carolina, Northern Georgia, Southeastern Kentucky, that our values align in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of us don't even realize when we get down to like Chattanooga, especially like Alvin was talking about, we got the mayor of Chattanooga selling us down the river to the TVA and the World Economic Forum. We've got the same thing happening here. And I don't think necessarily that the politicians around here are devious or are out to get us or anything like that. I think they're trying to move their towns into the future. I think they're trying to do the best they can for their communities. But I think we need to tell them that, hey, we don't need that kind of help from those kind of people that are wanting to track and trace everything we do, collect data about every single thing we do. The reason they want to collect that data is not only to sell stuff to us, is to prevent us from doing things and basically put us inside of some sort of digital prison in one way or another. But that's the purpose for the channel. That's what we'll be getting into. Going forward, we're going to be doing some more produced videos where I'll actually show you some of this stuff, and some of these probably just going to be me, and I'll be doing a more documentary style video where we get into why all these things are negative, how they affect you, how they're going on all around you, because that's what's happening. And that's the reason for the show, is I want to get all of us together who don't like these things, so we can realize that it's happening all around us and see what we can do to stop this. Let's get together politically to start with. That's the first step, right? If we can vote the people out that are implementing this agenda, that's the easiest way to do it, maybe. But if not, like I said, don't patronize the businesses in the areas where these things are going in. And when they ask you why, or even if they don't ask you why, call them and tell them, sorry, I can't come back to your business because I don't want to have to go through a smart pole tracking or a license plate reading tracking. These businesses hear enough of this from people. They're going to say, hey, city council, you're taking my taxes and you're hurting my bottom line. People are going over to, I don't know, Bristol, where they don't have smart poles and license plate reading cameras. They're going to Piney Flats to, buy a hamburger, to go to the grocery store, or to get their insurance, whatever it may be. So they're going to Unicoi to go fishing, whatever it may be. People, if we tell them we don't want to go through these things, they will take them out, especially if it's hurting their bottom line. So that's the reason for the channel. That's what we got coming up in the near future. This Sunday, we're going to pick a fun topic to go back into. We're going to delve into some hidden history, and we'll get into that on Sunday. So I hope you'll join us at 10 p.m. Tim, you got anything to leave us with before we get out of here tonight?
No, not really.
All right.
Other than I'm very happy that the absolute and totally not fake Elon Musk followed me on Instagram, and I'm going to go celebrate tonight because of that.
All right. Hell yeah. Well, drink one for me. Hey, I'll see you, everybody. I appreciate you joining us. We'll be here Sunday live at 10 p.m. Looking forward to it. Thanks, everybody.